We are now on air.
All right, good evening. Thank you for joining SVEC's Tele-town Hall. Please stay on the line while other members join, and we'll begin momentarily. While you're waiting with us this evening, I have a few announcements that I want to share with you, some things coming up here at the co-op. First of which is our Operation Roundup grants. If you know of a nonprofit organization anywhere in the Shenandoah Valley that is looking for funds to do good work within the community, SVEC can help. We give away grants each year, actually several times throughout the year, and our next grant cycle is due June 14th. So you can log on to our svec.coop website and check out that application. And if you want to make sure that funds stay in that program, you can actually round up your bill every month and make sure that those dollars go back in the community. As you're joining us this evening, if you have a question at any time during the call, you can press 0 and someone will assist you in taking your question. We'll have a Q&A session with our CEO, Greg Rogers, and we'll answer those questions during that time. We're looking at the numbers here at our headquarters in Rockingham County, and we're watching as folks are joining us here this evening. And as you're joining, we've got a few announcements. Members can expect to see an email survey coming out during the month of May. We'd love to get your feedback on that. So if you don't already have an active email account with us at SVEC, you can call into our member services team and have them update your email address so you can participate in that. And we also send out a lot of different information throughout the year to those that keep an active and up-to-date email with us. So we encourage you to do that. Thank you for joining us this evening. It's a beautiful evening in the Shenandoah Valley, so maybe you're joining us from your porch at home. But we're excited that you're spending some time with us to catch up on SVEC news. If you do have a question for us this evening, we've got members of our board and senior management team with us this evening, and you can press 0 at any point in time, and someone can assist you in taking your question, and we'll answer those during the Q&A session with our CEO later this evening. Thanks for joining us here this evening for SVEC's Tele-town Hall. This is our first event of the year. I've got a few announcements that I'm sharing as we're waiting for more folks to join us. There's never a bad time to go paperless. You can always go onto SVEC's website and check out your eBiz page, which is what we call your member account page, and you can log on there and sign up to go paperless so you don't have that stack of paper sitting on the end of your coffee table like I do at home. Or you can call our 1-800 number and one of our member service representatives can help get you set up. We've got some questions coming into the queue. If you're just now joining us, at any point during the call this evening, you can press 0 and someone can assist you in taking your question. We've got members of our board and senior management team with us this evening at our headquarters at our Rockingham office complex here just south of Harrisonburg. We'd be happy to answer those questions for you. So just press 0 and someone can assist you in taking that question, and we'll get to that during the Q&A portion of tonight's Tele-town Hall. If you're just now joining us, this is our first Tele-town Hall event of the season, of the year really, of 2023. And we do this several times throughout the year to give you all an opportunity to ask any questions you might have on your mind. Maybe you get our Cooperative Living magazine or our e-newsletter once a month. You've got some follow-up questions about something that you've read. We'd be happy to answer those this evening. Just press 0 if you'd like to ask a question, and we'll get to those during our Q&A session with our CEO, Greg Rogers, just momentarily. We're sitting here waiting for a few more folks to join us. We did a call out this evening to all of our residential members that had an accurate phone number on file with us this evening. We're so glad you're joining us. We're waiting just a few more moments before we get a few more members on the line. I've been making a few announcements this evening, but if you missed it earlier, we have a wonderful program called Operation Roundup, which is our charitable arm of our organization. This is an opportunity for nonprofit organizations to apply for grants as they're doing good work throughout the community. We do several grant cycles a year. The next one coming up, that deadline is June 14th. So if you know a nonprofit that could use some funds to do some good work out there in our community, encourage them to apply. They can go to svec.coop to find the application. Thanks for joining us this evening. If you have a question, the primary reason we're hosting this event this evening is so that you can get your questions answered. So if you do have a question of our board or our senior management team, simply press 0. We can answer that question for you during the Q&A portion of tonight's meeting with CEO Greg Rogers. All righty, we're going to get started here this evening. We may have a few more folks join us as we roll through tonight's agenda, but good evening and welcome to Shenandoah Valley Electric Cooperative's Tele-town Hall. My name is Morgan Slavin, and I'll be moderating tonight's event. We're so happy you could join us, especially on such a beautiful evening as this evening. If you have any questions this evening at any time during tonight's meeting, you can press 0 and someone will assist you in taking that question. And we'll answer those questions just a few moments with our CEO. We do ask that if you have a question, please do not discuss any personal account-related information while you're on the phone with us this evening. Keep in mind that this event is being recorded. It is going to be posted on our website tomorrow. And also, you've got your fellow members listening in as well. If you do have a personal account-related question, please just give us a call during regular business hours to our 1-800 number. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to our chairman for a brief welcome from our board of directors. Bill?
Well, good evening, everybody. My name is Bill Orndorff, and I'm chairman of the board of Shenandoah Valley Electric Cooperative. We're blessed to be surrounded by such a beautiful valley, and your electric co-op is proud to have a part in making it a great place to live, work, and play. The fact that you are participating in our meeting tonight shows that you have interest in making sure that the co-op continues to meet your needs. And folks, I'm here to tell you that's no small task. Tonight we called or sent a text message to about 70,000 members tonight, inviting them to join us in this evening. Most likely listening to me right now, it's fair to assume that we have people from Highland County on up to where I'm from in Frederick County, easily more than 2 hours apart, separated by 150 miles. I also feel confident in saying that we have people online who've been members of our co-op for several decades, as well as some that just become members maybe beginning of this year. And I promise you this, every last one of you matters as a member of Shenandoah Valley Electric Cooperative. As the Valley continues to grow, those who work at the co-op will always work safely and strive to provide the best service that we can for you. I and 9 other cooperative members like you regularly see this dedication as your elected board of directors. We certainly respect your time and value the input or questions you will provide for us this evening. And thank you again for answering tonight's call and staying on the line. I'll turn things over now to our Shenandoah Valley Electric Cooperative President and CEO, Greg Rogers. Greg?
Thank you, Bill. I am Greg Rogers, President and CEO of the Cooperative. And as a reminder, if you have questions tonight at any time during my remarks, you may press 0 and someone will assist you. We will do our best to try to answer as many questions as we can this evening. I'd like to start with what could be considered the most important part of being a cooperative member, and that's the election of a board of directors, as Bill mentioned. This year, SVEC has 4 director seats for election on the ballot. To get on the ballot, you must be either an incumbent director seeking re-election or submit a petition with the signatures of at least 50 other members. The petition deadline this year was April the 3rd. We did not receive any petitions from members for the board, so the ballot this year for the 4 seats up for election is set with our 4 current directors seeking re-election. In the Central Region, that's Jerry Doffmeyer. In the Shenandoah County, that's Dr. Conrad Helsley. From the City of Winchester, it's Robbie Marchant. and in our northern region, Bill Orndorff. For more information on how the regions break down, please visit our website. However, it's important to note that all members can vote for all director elections regardless of where you live. The next step in our process will be sending ballots to members around the third week of June. Members can vote by mail or online at that time. We will announce the election results during our next telephone event, which is our annual meeting scheduled on Thursday, August the 3rd. Again, if you have a specific question on the director election topic, please press 0 now to enter the call queue. While the board elections set us apart from all other electric utilities, keeping your lights on is our number one priority. I cannot go too far in my remarks before commending our crews for another job well done and done safely during the windstorm earlier this month. Crews worked overnight, encompassing the majority of the weekend, to get all the members back on. They really do know how to answer the call. That weather event shows that not just precipitation can cause major damage. Now that we've arrived in spring, it's fair to call this past winter generally friendly to our system in terms of major weather events. You'll recall the 1-2 punch of the ice storm and the bitter cold with high winds in December around Christmas Eve. Beyond those, we avoided pretty significant outages over this time frame. There's always been something to be learned. We evaluate our outage preparation and response after any major event. We look into how we can get additional crews ready and how many contractors should be put on standby to help. We make sure that we match the crews on standby with the level of threat to ensure the most expedited restoration. We do not call for additional crews if we feel they will not arrive in time to assist in the restoration. We work hard to make sure the costs we incur the most expedient restoration for our members. It's really a balance of effective spending and wasteful spending. Our members are best served in major outages when we can line up extra resources that coincide with decreasing outage times. We also evaluate improvements to our system. And I know the question comes up, why don't we just bury more of our lines to avoid the problems of downed trees? I'll start by saying our right-of-way management really is second to none. We have a rotation throughout our 5 districts that uses multiple tactics to manage vegetation. So when we do have a major event, they are less damaging. In some cases, major events may be averted because of our upkeep. As for burying the lines, SVEC will proceed if it's the best option, but it often comes at a much greater expense. And underground lines are not immune to the issues of their own either. There are environmental impacts. Underground lines can be hit by someone who is doing excavation work, or overhead facilities downline served by the underground could be damaged, causing an outage that undergrounding wouldn't have prevented. So it's not as simple as burying the lines will solve all outage issues. We know it's an option, and we use it to our members' benefit when it makes the most sense. But there is no universal solution. These are just some of the things we consider as we evaluate our outage response and look to be proactive in our approach. Again, if you have any questions about outages or any other topic, again, you can press 0 to enter the queue. Finally, as we look ahead to the coming months, I'll mention a few other things quickly. By this fall, we should have electricity generating from our community solar site in Mount Jackson. Once this facility is up and running, we will communicate with members the opportunity to buy blocks of this renewable solar energy. Stay tuned for details on how you can participate in this program. Secondly, members are invited to attend our second annual Electric Vehicle Grand Prix on Saturday, May the 13th here at our Rockingham office. This event features about a dozen area high schools racing electric vehicles that they built on their own. As part of our Clean Power Plan we adopted in the fall of 2022, supporting EV use among our members and studying its impact on our distribution system was one of the key points. This Grand Prix is one way to help us see what the next generation of members is thinking in terms of how they will be good stewards of the environment. And finally, on May 20th at the State Fairgrounds outside of Richmond is the annual Gaff and Go Line Worker Rodeo. We have 13 line workers competing in timed competitions against other utilities. A gaff in this instance is the term for the metal spike that our linemen wear on the sides of their boots to help them climb poles to do repair and construction work. Gaff and Go means our linemen are off to work. Members are more than welcome to make the trip to watch, but the important aspect of this is our crews take a lot of pride in what they do, and this rodeo is a showcase of their skills. It's rewarding for the crews to compete in the events that demonstrate their high skill level in front of an audience of their families and coworkers who rarely, if ever, get to see them do their job. As members, you should know, even though you can't always see the work being done by the cooperative, we are constantly working hard to improve. And it takes many people of various skill sets to achieve our goals. Again, if you have any questions for us, please press 0. I'll now turn things back over to Morgan and see what questions you have so far.
Awesome. Thank you, Greg. Well, we've definitely got a few questions in the queue here, but before we get started, I just want to remind you, if you have not gotten into the queue yet, if you would like to have a question answered by our senior management team and our reps from the board here, just press 0 and someone will assist you in taking your question and getting it into the queue. But please do not ask any questions related to personal account information while you're on the phone with us this evening. Remember, you've got your other members on the line with us, as well as this recording going to be posted on our website tomorrow. So we just want to make sure that you know not to ask any of those account-related information questions. You can call in and ask those questions, and member service representative can answer that for you tomorrow during business hours. Let's get started with our first question in the queue. Let's go to Rodney in Page County. He's got a question about our helicopter service. Rodney, please go ahead with your question.
Yeah, hey, I had an issue where I had a helicopter hovering across my house for a couple days, and I work a 12-hour graveyard shift. And I understand you got to do maintenance. But then it ran into 7, 8, 9 days. This guy, I don't know if he was just using it as a pivot point or something. I eventually, called law enforcement. I'm like, can we get these people to, move the helicopter somewhere else? I understand you got to do maintenance, but, when you're dropping it on my house, it stressed me out, to be honest with you.
Thank you for that question, Rondi, or that statement, and we certainly understand that. I mentioned in my remarks that we have a very robust vegetation management program, and that does include helicopter trimming, which is one of the most effective ways we have to reach those areas, especially in the mountainous, more off-road areas, to do the most cost-effective cutting. And so we do use that helicopter to do that kind of cutting, and they do have a landing zone from place to place. Now, we do send out notifications. We try on the lines that we're cutting, but it sounds like maybe you were near one of the refueling or landing sites. We'll actually have somebody reach out to you and notify where you are, and we'll let our local forester be aware of that for the next time we bring the helicopter in the area. But I appreciate your comments about the maintenance needing to be done. The helicopter is one of those most cost-effective ways we can do that. And again, I apologize for the disruption in your life on that, and we'll work around that in the future. Thank you, Rodney.
Thank you for that question. And again, if you have a question this evening and you'd like to get that answered by our CEO, Greg Rogers, all you have to do is press that 0 button and someone will take your question and put it in the queue. We'll get to it this evening. We do have a stop around 8 o'clock this evening, but even if we don't get to your question, we'll have someone follow up with you and make sure that you have an answer provided. Next on the list is Homer from Greenville. Homer has a question about his bill. If you would like to go ahead, Homer, with your question, go ahead.
Yes, I'm on a levelized plan. It usually runs around 140, somewhere in that area. This month there was an additional charge. I think it said PAC or something like that. I'm not sure, but it was 176 after this was added. I was just wondering what that is.
Thank you, Homer, for that question. And on these questions that are account specific, we really do have some amazing MSRs out there that answer these calls, and they're much better answered with your bill in front of them, and they can look at the technical aspects of it. So what we'll do on that, I apologize for not being able to answer it correctly, but I don't want to. I would rather have it be pertinent to your specific question. So we'll have somebody reach out to you and contact you about your question directly, so that we make sure we explain everything on the bill to that regard. So thank you for your question. Again, on the billing questions, we're probably going to more defer to personal contact just due to the confidentiality aspect of it.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Homer. Great question. And at any point in time, if you do have questions about your bill, just like Greg said, we have a great member services team that can dive into your usage and explain all those different working parts to your bill. We also have a bill breakdown on our website that you can visit and take a look at and see what each one of those lines mean. So next on our list of questions is Richard from Augusta County. He's got a pretty popular question. We get lots of questions about internet. Richard, go ahead with your question.
I can't get the internet where I live here. And I was wondering if there's any plans to get the internet through your systems here.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that question. We have gotten that a lot over the last couple of years. To reiterate what the co-op is doing, the co-op is installing about a 400-mile fiber backbone that will provide services to our electrical network, primarily our substations and downline devices and our offices. And so as part of that process, we do have internet providers, ISPs, that do contact us, and several of them are active in our territory, and they are working to provide last mile services. If we have excess capacity on our particular backbone, then we are working with them to provide additional support to their projects. But they are the ones providing final internet to the home. We have a very diverse area, and a couple of years ago we made the decision that due to a very sparse and then heavy internet usage, that we were going to go the route of providing it for our backbone and not venture over. We have several very competent, good ISPs around, and they'll be the ones to actually provide that service.
Awesome. Thank you, Richard, for that question. That's a pretty popular one that we get. We also have a set of frequently asked questions about the partnerships that we have and our fiber backbone network that we'll be installing on our website if you're ever interested in getting the most up-to-date information about our fiber utility network. Next, we're going to go to O'Neill in Winchester. Has a question about discounts. O'Neill, go ahead with your question.
Okay. My name is O'Neill Bishop, and I get phone calls asking me to push a button to get in contact with the electric company because I was due a discount. And I think it's a joke about it, or something's different. You wouldn't get calls like that.
You are exactly right. We do not make those calls. We do not put those out. Those are scams being run by people to get people's personal contact information. If you do ever lose any money through something like that, then please call the law enforcement. They will not do anything unless they actually there is money lost. But we also like to know if you get those reports, and we will occasionally on our social media and stuff, if we hear of active scams going on, we'll let our membership know through the methods that we have. But you are exactly right. We don't call with that. We run under a tariff basis, and so there's no discounts that we're going to call and actively try to solicit you for. So you're exactly right in your thinking, and we appreciate you taking that approach to keep yourself safe. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for your questions here this evening. Again, we've got just a handful of folks in the queue here, so if you do have a question for us this evening regarding your service or questions about the co-op, you can ask those by pressing 0. You'll get directed to an operator who can gather up that question, put it in the queue for you this evening, and we'll get that answered by our president and CEO, Greg Rogers. Next, we're going to go to Jim in Winchester. He has a question about volunteerism. Jim, would you like to go ahead with your question? Hey there, Jim. Go ahead with you. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
What I was calling about, but yeah, volunteerism. I'm retired. I spend most of my days puttering around the house when I'm sure there's something constructive that could be done on a volunteer basis with obviously little or no technical training, but something that we could do to help out.
Well, certainly thank you for that offer. We do from time to time have different endeavors where we want feedback, or we're doing stuff with our membership, and or we need something for people for specific roles in the co-op as far as the governance of the co-op. And so always good to have a list of people willing to help us out. And so we have your name now, and if something comes up along those lines, we're certainly glad to have you offer that support. So thank you very much for that. Appreciate it.
Thank you for that, Jim. And you may have heard me say it earlier, but the charitable arm of our organization is called Operation Roundup, and that sounds like a really great place maybe to get started there. Feel free to check that out on our website and see if that might be something of interest. All right, moving on to the next person in the queue. Remember, just press 0 if you'd like to have someone take your question here this evening. But the next person in the queue is going to be Mary from Winchester. She's got a question about concern about outages. So, Mary, please go ahead with your question.
Hi, this is Mary McFarland, and I have a daughter who has significant disabilities, one of which is she uses oxygen, and she also uses a non-invasive ventilator. I have filled out the life support registry, and of course her doctor did send a letter, attached a letter. However, I was told at our local SVEC that nothing could be guaranteed as far as outages. We are in the process of trying to get a generator for our home. We're pretty rural in Winchester, and it's essential for her to, not be without, for us not to be without power for her for over 3 hours, as that is the limit for her, the battery in her oxygen and also the non-invasive ventilator. So, having said all of that, can you please update me on what, if anything, is, in the works? Sometimes I've had to call several times to try to, and I really appreciate the linemen, and I know they work very hard. However, it is a life or death matter, and sometimes we get trapped in, and I couldn't even take her to the hospital. So can you give me any insight as to what, if anything, that, could be done as far as this for folks like my daughter who are dependent on the electricity for their life support systems?
Yes, thank you for that question. We obviously, as I said in my remarks, consider the reliability of our system, our number one priority behind doing that safely. And so we take all those things into account. I mentioned it also in my remarks about the maintenance that we do ongoing each and every day, and extension, the tree trimming that we do, all of the other items that we do. We really look at ourselves as providing reliability, not just during the outage situations, but through the entirety of the year by preventing as many outages as possible. However, there are weather and other events that do cause issues. I would say one of the big things we try to do is we are very mindful of watching the weather, watching for those events, trying to get out the word that those events are coming, and in some cases, preparation or early ability to get backup resources and stuff is one of the options that we have out there to provide the notification that members may want to seek those things. We do restore as quickly and safely as possible. We restore with priority in mind, but we still have to work our way from the source out. So there are folks where they may be near the end of the line or other things that may feel like that they're take a little bit longer to restore, but we do take all that into a mind, and we do restore it as quickly as possible. You've taken the steps it sounds like you need to do to notify us that you're a life support customer, and we work through those as we restore power. But it sounds like for that critical of a need, for that short period of a time, that a backup type of system probably is in play. I would encourage you maybe still to call in and talk to us personally about your situation, where we can look at your location and maybe we could give some other pointers that might be helpful to you as a member of the cooperative. But that's a good question, and we certainly do our best to try to get things restored as quickly as we can, and honestly keep them from going out in the first place to the best of our ability.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Mary. It's a very good question there. And keep in mind that we do have an outage map both on our website and our My SVEC app on your phone. And as we have information that's available on restoration and what causes outages, you can check those sites too to get the most up-to-date information during a storm event. We've got a couple more folks here in the queue this evening, but if you do have just a burning question you'd like to get asked and answered this evening, please press 0 and someone can get that in the queue this evening. Next is going to be Tamara from Fishersville. She has a question about fiber optics timeline. Tamara, would you like to go ahead with your question?
Yes, thank you. I was wondering if I could get more precise details on the Fishersville area, specifically 608 south of Expo, going into Stewart's Draft, as to whether there is an IP provider that's interested in this area, and if so, who are they, and what the time frame update timeline would be, maybe, in getting some good internet in this area.
Thank you for that question. As I mentioned earlier, we are doing our backbone across our system. We have work going on in many of our jurisdictions. Near the third quarter of this year, we'll be getting into that heavily. However, we are not the provider of the internet, so those fall to the local internet service providers. We have a few around us that are looking to us to maybe attach to our poles, maybe use our backbone or do other things, but we do not control their timeline, or are we usually privy to when they might be in a particular area. So we continue to work with them as best we can to do that, but any kind of real update on your question would have to come from the folks providing the internet service in your particular area. We are here to support them, and we work very closely with all that come to us in trying to expedite it as best we can. But we are merely a support factor for most of them. They'll be the ones that actually provide the lit service to the home moving forward.
Great question, Tamara, and also definitely a popular one. So we've got a couple more folks in the queue here. Let's go to Bob in Penlaird. He's got a question about his meter reading. Bob, would you like to go ahead with your question?
Thank you. We got our new meter today. Thanks very much. It's really fancy. It has lots more data than the old one, but I can't tell what it is. It has lots of codes that it didn't used to have, and they flash very quickly. What do each of those codes mean that flash so quickly on the meter screen? And if you're willing to tell us, how much do they cost? Because you must have spent a lot for 79,000 new meters.
Yeah, thank you, Bob, for that question. And the meters themselves run about $200 a piece. That's what they run, and that's actually pretty consistent with what the meters that we had. A little bit more, but obviously these have a lot more capabilities. As far as the actual displays, yes, they all those display activities mean something, and so probably the best way to handle that is to set up an appointment for us to come out or talk you through those with somebody who can basically visualize it at the same time. That's probably the best way to handle that, so that you totally understand. I know you are a net metering user, and a lot of those different things mean more than you're just looking for the meter reading that you're utilizing. So be glad to do that. There's nothing on there that we aren't willing to share what the meaning is, and moving forward, make you a more informed member in that regard. But the meters themselves cost about $200.
Great question, Bob. Thank you so much. All right, well, we're down to one question in the queue, but it's not too late. If you would like to ask a question this evening, we've still got some time on the clock. You can just press 0, and someone will assist you in taking that question and getting it in the queue. But until then, let's go to Debbie in Edinburgh. She's got a question here. Debbie, please go ahead with your question.
Hi. I was just wondering, the well to our house was going to be disconnected without us being notified.
We may have lost Debbie there, but I think I saw a little bit of what she was asking. If that well was tied to an account, then obviously we have notification provisions in our billing process system. That is more of again, an individual account type of thing. So I would encourage you, if you can still, if you're still online, Debbie, to call in, or we have your information. We will have somebody reach out to you and make sure we understand, make sure all the contact information, mailing it, make sure everything is in order for proper notifications there. But we do have a standard procedure we use on all of those, and but it just may not be. It sounds like maybe the well might not be connected directly with your house, and so it might take a little bit of work to make sure we got everybody on the same page on that one. So hopefully you can still hear me.
Awesome. Thanks for that. We've got another question that just popped up in the queue, so we're going to go to Paul in Winchester. He's got a question about trimming right-of-way. Paul, would you like to go ahead with your question?
Thank you. Yes. Is it reasonable for members to expect that aerial trimming will be confined to the actual right-of-way? And if trimming activities stray from the right-of-way, is there a remedy for property damage?
Yes, we have the right-of-way. The aerial saw is typically used for side trimming, so it would be basically going right up the edge of the right-of-way. And then what happens is, after we do that aerial cutting, we come back and pick it up, but it's usually the ground crew is usually several weeks behind the helicopter patrol. And so if there is debris laying on the ground or something like that, then we take care of that then. I'm not sure the exact damage you were talking about. If there was damage done by the helicopter, again, I encourage you to call in. You'll get routed to one of our foresters who will look into any situation like that might come up. But using the aerial saw, we cut along the edge of the right-of-way. So yes, it's right at the edge of the right-of-way, because that is the most effective way to cut some of those lines back. But if that didn't answer your question directly, I encourage you to call in, get a forester to come out and look at it, and that's going to be a more productive conversation in answering your specific issue there at your property.
Great question, Paul. Thanks for that. We've got a few more trickling in here, so if you do have a question this evening, just press 0 and someone can assist you getting your question into the queue for us this evening. Next, we got Joyce from Lyndhurst. She's got a question about her meter. Joyce, would you like to go ahead with your question?
Yes. I guess my question is, how do you know how old your meter is?
Basically, if the way we work, we have the equipment out there, and we have equipment in place for quite some time. So it's more about its usability there. So if there is no problems with the meter, which we can detect even with our current system, not getting readings and stuff like that, then we will come out and look at the meter and replace it if necessary, test if necessary. The new meters are being installed as part of a new system, as the old system is now at the end of life generally, and so we're going out and replacing all of them. That has just started, so it's not likely that very many members, probably around 1,000, maybe a little more out of the total, have been replaced at this point. But that will be ramping up over the year. So there's no real way to look at it and tell how old it is. However, the accuracy of it is still effective all the way until we're notified if it would happen to go out and stop working from a collection standpoint, and we would come out and replace it. So I hope that answers your question.
Joyce? And if anyone has questions about that new meter project that Greg mentioned, we do have a frequently asked questions page of our website dedicated to our AMI meter transition. So check that out if you have any additional questions. Well, I'm looking at the queue here. We have no more questions, so this is going to conclude tonight's event. We appreciate everybody taking the time to join us this evening on a beautiful evening in the Shenandoah Valley. Thank you again for everyone who tuned in. A recording of this event is going to be available on our website within the next day or so. So encourage you to go to that place on our website and check it out if you need to listen back on any questions or share it with anyone else. Keep in mind, you don't have to wait till our next event to contact the co-op with any questions you have. Feel free to call us during business hours at our 1-800 number if you have any account-related questions or have any specific service questions that you might have. And, of course, you can always contact your board of directors through the board contact form on our website as well. Until the next time we see each other, stay safe and stay well. Have a nice evening.